Director of Athletics Jim Sterk and Head Coach Barry Odom here for you, and I believe we'll start with some comments from Jim and turn it over to Coach from there, and then we'll open it up to questions, and we do have the mic, so we ask that you raise your hand and we'll get you a mic to ask a question. So with that, Jim, take it away.
Thank you. It's great to see you all here, and it's obviously a very exciting day for us to get selected for a bowl berth at Texas versus Texas. So it's a great day for our student athletes. I'm so excited and proud of the way that they finished the season, and our coaches, and keeping everyone focused. And it's really fun to be at this point in time. Just want to make a point. I appreciate all the work. There's a lot of work that's going on. You know, coaches are starting their preparation for the game with our team. We've got a lot of staff and others that are working on it. I think as soon as the announcement was made, we had over 150 emails going out to friends, season ticket holders, TSF, donors, and then the Alumni Association just sent out another 165,000. And so it's important to know that a lot of work behind the scenes and to bring us to this point and give us a great opportunity to have a great show in Houston. And I'm excited to be a part of the team that puts this all together. So with that, I'll turn it over to Coach Odom.
Okay, good to see you guys, and I'll revisit some of the things that Jim mentioned, but thank you for being here on a Sunday evening, and it's a very, very exciting time for our football program and our athletic department. And you go through the process of from when our season was over after the win at Arkansas, and knowing that you're going into a bowl, so you can piece together and start putting together the calendar for the first couple of weeks. So we've had a couple of really good practices so far, and our kids are excited to have an opportunity to go play another game and try to get win number 8. And I appreciate, as Jim was saying, all the moving parts that go into pulling a bowl game off, and so many people that will put in tireless hours to make sure that we put together an experience for our student athletes. It's something that is a great memory for them and a great reward for our 18 seniors and our underclassmen that have worked really hard to get to this point. I appreciate the Southeastern Conference, in going through this process and the way that they handle business. Thankful for the opportunity to play in the state of Texas, which will be great for our kids. We've got a number of guys from Texas as their hometown and home state, and thankful for the Academy Sports and Outdoors Texas Bowl for the sponsorship of putting on a great event. We were there a few years ago in 2009, and the city of Houston was outstanding for us and for our kids, and they put on a first-class bowl game during that time, and I'm sure that there'll be some familiar faces and excited about having an opportunity to go compete together for an opportunity to win another game. We've got a tremendous alumni base in the state of Texas that I know that will be excited to go watch their Tigers play. It's huge for us to be in that area for a lot of different reasons. And number one, to have the extra, we'll get another 12 practices on top of the 2 that we've already had, and that's great for the foundation of our program, and to continue to build the direction that we're moving for all of our younger kids. To get that extra, really, you look at it as an opportunity for another spring practice, more or less. But then you're getting into game week mode, sooner than later, with now knowing our opponent. So we'll be excited to renew the opportunity to play a team from the Big 12 Conference, and our kids are excited about it, as well as our staff, and anxious to continue the road of building and have another chance to compete with this group.
Jim or Barry, whoever can answer this question better, how conscientious was the effort from you guys and the league to play a team from the Big 12 in a bowl game?
I think it just those agreements are made with the bowls and the conferences. So I think it's a positive. I think it's a good rivalry. I think it gives us a good opportunity. But I don't think I don't think we were slotted just because we were formerly in the Big 12.
Barry, I believe your first game as a player was against Texas in 1996. What do you remember about that day?
You're correct, Pete. That was in Austin, Texas. It was also the same week that Coach Andy Hill's daughter, Tricia Hill, was born. So that dates us all just a little bit. I remember Coach Hill ran off the practice field. Tricia was being born, I think, on a Wednesday, if I remember that right. Wow. I was a true freshman and going down, and I didn't know really. I knew I was in the mix to maybe play, maybe redshirt. I didn't have any idea. And then they put the depth chart out on Monday, and I remember calling home and said, "Hey, I don't know what you guys are doing this weekend, but it looks like I'm playing," and I played a lot. So it was game was delayed because of a thunderstorm. So a lot of memories from the game. Obviously, it's being your first one, and that was the first game for the University of Missouri in the Big 12 Conference. So with this switch from the Big 8 to the Big 12, and that was the first conference game. I think somebody moved their kick time a little bit earlier in the day, so we were not the first game of the Big 12 Conference in the history of it, but I think we were the second. So, there's a lot of history between Missouri and Texas, obviously, and I've been a part of a lot of that.
I can't even remember what I had for lunch, but he can remember all of that. That's amazing.
Barry, so over the past few years, it's become a trend that some players, if they have the ability to go to the NFL, don't play in their bowl games. Texas has already announced that 2 of their players aren't going to play. Have you had any conversations with your guys about that stuff?
No, I think we're looking forward to having a chance to go compete again together as a team. And the resolve that this team has shown over the course of this football season, the things that this team has been through over the course, if you look at our seniors over the course of the last 5 years, I think without question, our guys will be excited to go have a chance to compete together one more time. And the team, I visited a little bit going into our last game. This team is special. We'll have a chance to do something that's been done only one time, if I'm not mistaken, in the history of college football. There's never been a team that started 1-5 and finished with 8 wins. I think there's been one other program ever in the history of college football that's done that. So there's a lot of things that this team's working towards. We've had a number of conversations about what we need to do to finish the right way, and they're a pretty determined group. Who are the 2 that said they're not playing? I don't know if I. Gotcha. Yeah. Well, I'm looking forward to practice number 3 with the team that we got, and we'll keep on preparing and see how good we can get over the course of the next 3 weeks.
Jim, what was that process like with the SEC and talking with them and going through the pool of 6 the first time Mizzou played in one of these bowls?
Sure, it's one, being new to it. I wanted to be sure of what was the process, and I asked the question both of some of the bowls and then also from the league office. So it was cordial. They wanted to know where we were, where we had the bowl ranked, and the bowls did the same as far as the team. So I think this one was a match made in heaven.
Barry, Terry had announced late this week that he was coming back for another year. What was that thought process like with him? Were you expecting him to have his mind made up this early?
Yeah, really, just being very frank and honest, he's had it made up for quite a while, quite some time, and he's leaning that direction. So he cares deeply about our football program. He wants to be a leader and continuing to do what we have started in motion with this season, and he's got a great opportunity to finish up his degree, which is important to him, to graduate and be a graduate of the University of Missouri, and also lead this football team and this football program into another opportunity for next year for him. So obviously a big recruiting get for us, just on having him back, and excited for him, and he'll do an outstanding job.
Jim and Barry, can each of you talk about how this season and becoming bowl eligible is an important stepping stone for the program as each of you see it?
Well, when you set out each year the things, of the many goals that you want to set for your program, as you always want to be on postseason play, just not only to reward and make memories for your current team and your exiting seniors, but also the opportunity to continue to build that program with all the the different things that you can do now in the month of December with your program, from lifting and running to on the field practice to meeting times, all those different things, that shows progress for us. And you know, the things that this team has done, you know, again, we've got a chance to get win number 8, and that's huge for us as we move forward.
As far as the program overall, I think specifically with each of our programs, we want to provide one of the best student-athlete experiences in the country, and I think we can do that with the combination of the institution and then the athletic conference that we're in. And for us to have postseason play it's a reward, obviously, for hard work, but also a reward for doing things the right way. I think the team has really set a standard, a high standard for character and integrity and building the momentum of this team. And so I think that's important. And then externally, as far as support for the program, just another opportunity to showcase Mizzou on a national stage. It'll be ESPN, it'll be 8 o'clock at night. All of those things are important for us as we continue to build, not only just around here, but throughout the state and throughout the region and nationally.
Barry, with that December signing date coming up in a couple of weeks, just how different, how much stronger is your sales pitch now that you can have guys in on visits while you're preparing for a bowl game?
Yeah, we had a number of kids, prospects, prospective student athletes on our campus this last weekend. They left today, so December is always a busy time, and now with the early signing day, it's a little busier. The clock's moved up a little bit. Our staff is doing a tremendous job on the road recruiting and finding not only the right fit for us and what we're doing on both sides of the ball with our scheme, but also the right cultural fit for what we're doing in this program. And I've got an unbelievable staff that are, you know, they're working extremely hard. They're doing things the right way. They're mentoring and leading our kids. And we're going to have, you know, in the number of guys that sign with us in December, we'll be really fortunate to get those guys in our program. Just like last year's signing class, a number of guys that played for us early, you know, we feel like we've got a very, very strong core group of kids that will sign in December, and will help this program, you know, over the next 3, 4, 5 years that will transform us into where we're headed. You know, with the evaluation of getting kids on campus, when we do that at the University of Missouri, our success rate of getting a kid to commit and sign with us is really, really high, and we've got to continue that. They get on campus and get around our folks on the academic side on campus. They get to see the entire picture on what Mizzou is from a total student-athlete standpoint, and there's not many places like it. And that's been proven with the guys that we've had on campus after their official visit, the feedback that we get, and then those guys that end up signing with us. You know, we've got to continue that trend.
Barry, going off of Dave's question, you had said when they first enacted the early signing date that you wouldn't really know how it would change, you know, your schedule and how your staff handles things until you were in the middle of it. Now that it's 2 or 3 weeks out from actually being here, are you able to kind of reflect on how big of an impact it did make?
Well, I think when I made that statement, I still, you know, stand by it. I think we've got to get through it a couple different times, a couple different recruiting cycles before we look at really how it affects the total picture. Because, you know, I was in high schools last week in the Georgia area, and you know, they were just getting into their quarterfinals and semifinals. So high school, the season's still going on in that state. Same thing with the state of Texas and a number of different places. They're just now getting into, you know, either the semifinals or championship weekend. So we need to look at it as an organization as what is best for kids, number one. You know, and as a former high school coach, you've got to have great respect for the job that they're doing. You don't want to interrupt their season with a signing date when they're getting ready to go try to win a state championship. But also, you know, that's what the rule is, and we're going to make the best of it and make it work. But I think, you know, there'll be always, as you know, the NCAA and AFCA is trying to do, you always want to make things better. So they'll take the feedback after this recruiting cycle and maybe next, and, you know, we'll see if there's any changes that take place.
Barry, the
recruiting momentum is talked a lot about with bowl games. Is there any benefit to having one in Texas, a chance to showcase your team in a state where you guys have pulled a lot of talent from?
Yeah, absolutely. You know, have a chance to, you know, those guys. There's rules on what you can do. You know, when you're at a bowl site with number of visitors to practices, but anytime that a place that's one of your has been traditionally and will continue to be a great recruiting footprint for us, I think it's so important that we've got an opportunity to be down there and they can see what our program is, you know, on the way that our practices are. And, you know, it's so huge. The state of Texas is obviously very, very well respected in how they, you know, their high school football programs. And you know, we've had a lot of great ones from there, and we're going to have a lot of great ones in the near future from that state as well.
Hey, Coach, back here. Josh here from St. Louis. You're 1-5. Obviously, tumultuous time for the season for you guys. At that point in the season, how much faith did you have that this day would still arrive, that you'd get an invite to a bowl game? And then second, for Jim, you know, this has been a roller coaster of a season. How much faith, or how would you describe your faith in your coach this year?
Throw it out there. Who do you want to go first?
I'm keeping it
the first
real.
one was me. You know, faith, I mean, I've always got faith. If you believe in what you're doing, you've got strong conviction, you got confidence, and you got the guys around you as a staff that are going to go make it work. And you're close in so many areas. You just weren't winning football games, but we were better in so many areas. I knew it was going to happen. I didn't know when it was going to happen. So sitting at 1-5, I mean, like I said earlier, I wouldn't recommend that to be, you know, that's not a whole lot of fun for anybody. But also anything in life worth having, it's not ever easy. It's not just going to be handed to you. You've got to go through tough times. You've got to go through those things for it. Eventually, you got to break down the wall. And our kids did an unbelievable job on holding together and trusting what we were doing and saying. And then we gained some confidence and ended up playing like the team that we can. So, and still, we haven't reached our best football yet. You know, as this team I'm talking about, we can be a lot better, and I expect us to play our best game December 27th. Now, Jim's got the tough question.
No, I think it's why you as an administrator, as an athletics director, you don't, you know, jump to conclusions. But as Barry said, there was a lot of great things that we saw going on, you know, behind the scenes. That the team was a lot closer, better. We talked about, you know, better in the locker room. I think they were a group that wanted to win together, and so you see that. But you know, people jump off the bandwagon, and it's fashionable to do that. But I told someone last week that, you know, I had a guy send me an email. You know, remember that email I sent you a month and a half ago? Could you have your IT guy delete that for me? And I'd rather not, you know, have that out there. But that's you know, sports. People are passionate, and we want people passionate, but we want them on our side, you know, in the right way, and supporting the program, supporting the student athletes. These are 18 to 22-year-olds, and they're developing, and so you have to try to protect them from those kinds of things. So I think that's why this is so special to have this kind of ending to the season.
Coach, I know it's really early, but what are your initial thoughts on Texas?
Well, I you know, I've got a lot of respect for their program and their coaching staff and the history of what they've been able to do. I've seen them play a couple times, you know, this year when you're in a hotel and you have a night game and they've got an early game. I know they've recruited really well. You know, our defensive line coach Brick Haley was on the staff there last year, so you know, their staff is upstairs right now working away at you know, getting our thoughts together, and we'll have a great game plan going into it, and obviously there's a lot of familiarity with our staff and that university, that program, because of the guys that, you know, maybe where they went to school and competed against them. We've got a number of guys that recruit the state of Texas, so they're familiar with a bunch of kids that ended up going to school there. So I've got a lot of respect for them, and it'll be a great opportunity and challenge for us.
Barry, 2 questions. Sorry. Any update on Jamal Brooks? I know you'd gone down against Arkansas. And then kind of what you had hinted at, just with having Brick, Jordan Elliott, Texas transfer, some guys that are familiar with the personnel, does that give you any kind of advantage because it's a different coaching staff and everything? It doesn't really.
Yeah, that's unfortunately with Jamal had a knee injury and he's going to have surgery right after finals week, and then we'll be back, and so he'll be out for the game. But and expect him to have a full recovery and be back ready to go for spring practice and off-season workouts and spring practice. The familiarity with anybody that's Brick was not part of Coach Herman's staff. There was a change there made. So and Jordan obviously was on the team for 1 year. So they'll know as much about us as we do them. And there's always crossover. The coaching world and fraternity is very, very small. And there's enough information out there. Everybody does their homework. We've got to do a great job focusing on us and putting together a great game plan for our kids to put them in position to go play really fast and put them in position to have their best opportunity for success.
Coach, right here. Do you anticipate Demaria Crockett or Christian Holmes playing in the bowl game?
Well, I think Christian is further along in being able to, but he hadn't played, so I don't know that it'd be wise to play one game and use one game for a year. So he's practiced really well in the last 2 days, and Damari's really, I think, has an opportunity to play.
Coach, from what you remember going to a bowl after the '97 season, do you think the players today, with the way the bowl system has evolved, are they as excited as you were back then to get to a bowl game?
Oh, absolutely. And there's a bunch of guys on this roster that have been to bowl games, but then there's another handful that haven't experienced it. So I was in my office when I just got the call, and then was going through all the different phone calls, and there were whenever it was made public on however those guys, I wanted to be the one to break it to our team, but that never works in today's world. So, but you could hear, we had a bunch of guys downstairs in meeting rooms, and you could hear the eruption of guys having excitement about not only where we were going, but who we were going to have the opportunity to play. So that was pretty cool to hear it from afar.
Coach, is there any education that you do with the guys who didn't experience Big 12 football? That there's a kind of a natural rivalry with Texas. I mean, it wasn't that long ago. You had DeLoss Dodds say that their bad years are not as bad as Missouri's good years. I mean, do you do any sort of that historical kind of teaching to the guys who maybe aren't as familiar with some of the Big 12 carryover?
We've got respect for everybody that we play, but there'll be plenty of information, that our team receives, and that's just, I'm a firm believer in making sure our guys are prepared in every situation, and they know who our opponent is and what they're about, and just like I'm sure the other side is doing as well. So they read enough, they're aware of enough of all the things that are out there, but we'll make sure they're aware of it all.
Jim, as you watch the season unfold, what impressed you about the way Coach Odom handled the adversity, handled the season, and the way things finished out in the regular season?
I think, well, I mentioned it, the team being together, that they were focused, and I think he dialed it up a couple notches even more, about a third of the way through the season, I think, to really focus on the game at hand, and they had broad goals to reach, but they weren't going to reach them unless they won each week. And so I think as a leader, as a staff, as student athletes, I think they really started to focus at, I think they termed it being 1-0, and I think that really helped them, and then it helped them, responsibility-wise. You saw less mistakes on the field. You saw us win the turnover margins after that point, and so I think that's probably the most impressive.
Anything more? Okay, we'll let you guys go from there. Thank you very much.
Thanks, guys.